Certainly there's not a presumptive favorite at this point in the race. I mean, we're about 5 weeks or so out. I think we're going to see an election probably on September 27th. We'll know for sure later today. But with that amount of room and this many candidates in the race, there's plenty of room for fluidity. And part of it is that the LDP is going to really have to decide what it wants in its next leader. It needs someone who can really appeal to the public. There's likely to be, well, there's going to be an upper house election for sure next year. There's going to be lower house elections sometime in the next 13 months. So they really need to find someone who can really appeal to the public. But also, I think as we're seeing with this large field, the LDP is a really divided party. And you take the factions out of the mix, there's a lot of questions about how the party is going to be governed. And so they also need someone who can solve some of these internal issues, who's got good relationships across the party. And finding someone who could do both of those things well is a really, really difficult job.
Tobias, you've laid out three sort of scenarios how this could all play out. One is a popularity contest, another one is a war of attrition, and a third is an insider coronation. This whole idea of an insider coronation, I mean, it's cliche, but decisions being made in private back rooms in smoky restaurants, etc. I mean, those days are gone, right?
Certainly for this election, let's caveat it and say in the second round, where this large field is going to be winnowed down to two, there's going to have to be negotiations made because someone's going to have to figure out where all these lawmakers who voted for other candidates are going to go. There's going to be a lot of deal making. There might be more room for kingmakers in that second round as those deals get brokered. But in the first round with this giant field, it's going to be a lot of people just sort of figuring out trying to make the best pitch that they can to LDP supporters who are going to cast half the votes in the first round, as well as to their colleagues in the parliamentary party. And so it is definitely not going to be, the first round is not going to be determined by those kingmakers. They have limited influence because the factions aren't really, you still have one faction that's a going concern, but even that faction, the ASO faction, isn't really deciding a single candidate to vote for. So really, every LDP lawmaker feels up for grabs at the moment.